Hi guys, it's Michelle with Southern Shell Creates, and I just have a project to share with you today. One of the things I wanted to share with you is this is my idea book. Now, I'll have to turn it this way so you can actually get it all in the screen here. This is just a book that was purchased, I believe, from Tuesday Morning, Ross. Yeah, Ross. So you get it fairly cheap. It actually had a torn binding, so I just took some lace and I glued that upon there, so it gives definitely my shabbiness there. But what I wanted to share with you are, you know, kind of how I put my little ideas in here. Punch art, you know, how do you do some of the things with the punches you have. You can see here, you know, there's a little bumblebee, there's a ladybug, caterpillar, some cherries, apples, bananas, and these here are, you know, dresses out of scallop circle punches and, you know, little bits of decoration. But I'm going to share with you today envelopes. How can we move forward and use simple punches to make tiny envelopes? And here's one. You can see this tiny envelope on this copper paper clip. Here is another embellished paper clip, very simple for journals, planners, anything to that extent. I also try to take some of my dies that I get in and I'll punch them and stamp them so that as I'm going through I can kind of see what I actually have on hand. And like this is my Tonic craft kits that I get in, and so I'll say, okay, this is Tonic craft kit, what number kit was it and what book do I have it in and where it's at, so that if I look through here I can see where I can find this. It makes it a lot easier for me. But I wanted to show you some of these easy paper clips that you can make very simple out of punches and paper clips. I have already got punched and folded and glued. I've inked the edges on them. Super easy to do. And then what you can do once you have these done is, like I showed on there, is you can actually add them to a paper clip. Let me see if I can get something, another color that you can possibly see a little better. I don't know if that helps. You can put, now this is a much smaller one that I had made, but you can use this idea and put them on a paper clip. Now I actually made these where you can actually you can slide something on the inside of there if you want to add something, a little note, a little I love you note, anything like that, and make a little set of these, and you can just drop them in a lunch bag or a lunch box for your husband. Now what I've done with these particular ones is I actually did use some Mod Podge, some of the Mod Podge Super Gloss Brilliant, and what that does is it protects it, first of all. So if you're going to drop it in a lunch box, it's protecting it, and it's not going, if it gets a little wet, or even in your journals, if it gets beat up a little bit, it's a little safer than this cardstock. It's not going to matter too much. It's going to last you longer. So I am going to show you how to create the envelopes using two different punches. I have the little mini tag punch, which I've shown you guys before. which is this style. And I have the circle punch or the scalloped edge. The circle is a little easier to do, which is actually in my book. So I am going to pull my little book out, which tells me where I need to score and what I need to cut. And when you do enough of these, you just remember. So we'll go ahead and start with the tag punch. And if you wanted to make larger ones, this is an easy way to do that as well with your tag punches. So the tag punch, it tells me that I'm going to score at the bottom at 3/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to score towards the top at 1 inch. And so I'm going to go ahead and get my scoreboard, which is right here. I'm going to take and move this out of the way. Take my scoreboard, and I am going to place this. Let's do it this way so you can actually see what I'm doing here, since it's such a large scoreboard. And I'm going to do right on down here, which is the 3/8. Yes, because 1/2 inch is 4/8. So I'm going to go one back from that 1/2 inch, which is going to be 3/8. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a 1 inch. So 3/8 and 1 inch. That is all you need to do on this tag punch. Turn it over. You've got your bumps on one side, and you're going to fold that up, and you're going to fold that down. And would you look at that? You have a simple envelope. Now, one of the things to help the colors pop on these is I do like to ink my edges. So this is a smoky, just a light gray color, and I'm just going to take a little, this is actually Northern Pine by Mementos. I'm just going to go around the edges of that, and that's just going to help that pop. And I'm going to fold up and make sure, because this is such a small envelope, I want to make sure that my sides are even. I'm just going to press that down, and I'm going to go back to the top, make sure my sides are even. And if not, just manipulate the paper, force it into place. It's just paper, cardstock. And so I'm going to take right where those score lines are, and it's folded, and I'm going to do that again. Right along that edge. Right along that edge. I can put that away. If I want to be able to slip a tiny note in there, a little I love you or a good luck, maybe your child is having a test done that day, having a test, put a little good luck note in there. I just put a very little bit on the edge of that bottom flap, not the part that's cut from the tag, and I'm going to bring it right on up, and I'm going to press that down. And now I have an envelope, a very small envelope. If you look at this, with the ruler here, I'm just going to show you. This envelope is just 7/8 of an inch. 7/8 of an inch wide and a 1/2 inch tall. That's a small envelope. You can go ahead and put them on the paper clips. Remember my words here. Another thing that I've done with them is I've used pattern paper and cut them out, and I used really thin jute twine, and I've tied them up so it looks just like a little stack of envelopes. And there are 3 in each stack, and this could be a great embellishment on any of your projects. It could go in a scrapbook, it can go in a junk journal, it can go in a planner. You can use it on so many projects, on tags. How fun and simple, because it's a punch, you score, you fold, and you glue. It can't get any easier than that. I try to find the easiest things. It's funny because when you look at my book, my idea book, you see where I've actually taken like a rectangle and measured and written it down, and then I'm like, oh, use your punch, goofball. And my husband's all, well, isn't that why you have your project book, so you can continue to move forward? I'm like, yes, that's why I have it. So what a wonderful way to do this and to share. Now the second one that I want to do is out of the circle punch. So I'm using my 2-inch circle punch, and I have this really pretty paper which will look gorgeous on this copper. So I'm going to go ahead and punch me out a circle. There we go. I am going to look at my measurements. And for my circle punch, I am going to score a 1/2 inch all the way around except for one side, and that side's a 3/4 inch. We are going to take our scoreboard and all the way around it, I'm going to take it and I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch. And because I want to make sure that it's even, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold this in and now I have a straight edge. I'm going to rotate, I'm going to put that straight edge up and make sure I'm in here and in here as touching it and as straight as I can be up here, and I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put it down, straight edge, just touching here. I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch. Now I've got 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, and I need 3/4 inch down. So I want to be able to put that on a straight edge. So I'm going to fold this evenly. It's kind of hard to make sure you're even, especially when you have a busy pattern like that. So I'm going to fold that down. I'm going to bring it up here, equal it up to the edge here, straight up here, and come to a 1/2 and 3/4 and score it down. Now for me to be able to cut evenly on those lines, what I want to do is I'm going to flip it over so I have the, you've got a valley and you've got a peak. If you look at how those are scored on there, well, if I'm going to cut, I want to be able to have something I can cut, something I can have a guide with. And so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have a peak, so when I turn this over and cut it, it'll be a little easier for me. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to line these up, and I'm going to just very gently push on those score lines so that I will have a peak on the other side. Very gently, because those are already scored. Line that up. Like I said, this paper's a little busy because it has all that glimmer and those pretty colors, but now I have peaks on that side. It doesn't look very even to me on that one right there. Let's see what I can do. Now, if you're using paper that is kind of a cheap paper, you want to make sure you're using a good quality paper. This one is one of those special buys at Michael's when they're on sale for $5 a pack. And I've had it for quite some time. So if you have problems with your paper, if you missed it very, very lightly, or use a damp paper towel and just gently wipe over it, it will, and then you can work on it. It won't tear your paper. But like I said, very light water. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it on the outside of each score, the inside of the score mark. So I want this tab. I'm going to cut it on the inside of this score mark. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to cut it on the inside of this score mark. So if you see, I'm looking at the peak that I made, and I'm going to take it and cut it on the inside of the score, not on the outside of the circle, on the inside. And once again on the inside, on the inside, on the inside, and this is where we started. So when you look at this envelope and you fold it, it just really, I did not like the way that looked. So what I did is I took my envelope punch board and I folded down my top, and I came in and I popped that right on out of there. When I folded it, I tried to make this line here, this score mark, line up evenly with the centerpiece of my punch on my envelope punch board. So on the other side, we'll show you. Well, I'm going to take it, and the edge here, not the score mark, the edge here, might help if I show you, the edge of my fold mark, the fold flap that's going to go in, I'm going to take it and I'm going to push it up, and I'm going to try to make it as centered to that metal piece on the inside of the scoreboard, or the punch board. My goodness. So I'm going to set that down, slide it in, and punch it. So now I have so once you punch the edges on each of your flaps that are going to fold in, they're going to fold in, and then your bottom flap is going to fold up, your top flap's going to fold down. Now, like I said, this is a very busy paper, so I will be distressing some of the edges, but that's still just, I mean, that envelope, that front flap comes down quite a bit. So what I want to do with this particular one is I want to add a little more interest. So for this one to add more interest, I am going to come down once again, center it with my envelope punch board, come in and punch it. So what I did is when you do that, you're going to come up with a piece very similar to that. Now, I didn't center it very well, but there it is. Might be easier if you take a ruler, kind of mark your center. Like I said, the earth is moving. What can I say? I am going to take, I think I'm going to go ahead and take abandoned coral, since this is such a peachy color. And I'm going to take some abandoned coral, and I'm going to go ahead and fold this down and get these edges. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it around, fold this down and get these edges. Turn it, fold it. This way I know I'm getting all of my edges before I glue it together. If you glue it together, you might be missing some edges and it might look a little off. Now this, since it's already, I'm going to go ahead and just very gently fold it down a little bit. Make sure I've got that. Go ahead and come over and very gently fold part of it down so I can get my little ink pad in there. Come across the bottom flap. And now I have it all inked up. So I can put it together. First thing I want to do is go ahead and get my inside flaps, and you can see that those two just meet right there in the middle. I'm not going to glue those together in case I want to use this as an actual envelope. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue along the bottom and the edges, and the bottom and the edges. That's it. I better put my pen back in it or I will be in trouble later. Okay, so now I'm going to fold up my bottom. I'm going to fold down my top. And I have a very interesting envelope. I wonder what that would, yeah. There we go. And if I wanted to close this, I could use a little gem on there. This needs a little more distressing around those edges so it can actually show up a little bit better when I close that envelope. There we go. A little bit more. Now remember, your distress inks are, they do take a little longer to dry. They can be used for embossing if you need or if you'd like. So now I have a very different tiny envelope that I can use a gem to close. Let's see here. Comes my crafting tackle box. Let's see what we have that might match. Oh, we have gold and we have gold. I think I have one open already. Nope, that's the bigger ones. I do. Right here. It's not going to be too big. I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm going to take that little gem and I'm going to put that right in the center there. And now I have a very unique, tiny envelope. You can use this as an embellishment. You can put little love notes in it, like I said, just very similar to the other ones we made. That gem isn't sticking because that ink isn't dry on there yet. So we made a tiny envelope out of a small tag punch. This is the tag punch I used. EK Success. These are wonderful because they can close up and they stack up nicely so you can see what they are. So this is the tag punch. And then that's what I used to make this one. And you're going to score at 3/8 of an inch and at a 1 inch. And then you're going to fold those at those markings, and you have your envelope. Very easy to do. And then we did our circle, and we did the 2-inch circle, and we scored 2 inches or a 1/2 inch all the way around except for one, and that was 3/4. So we did a half, a half, a half, and then 3/4. And then we cut away the corners that you didn't want. And that created our circle envelope. Two very similar ways, but that's simple, easy. I hope you enjoyed this easy process product share video. Lots of fun things you can do with those punches, creating your paper clips, creating larger circle paper clips, and these can be embellished in any way. Banner paper clips, using the tag. Banner paper clips using the tag. And then once again, let your heart lead your way. Go wild with it, decorate. You can put some baker's twine on it. You can Mod Podge it so that it's more sturdy. Add some gems, do what you like with it. They're great fun to make. They're simple to make. So have a wonderful, blessed day. Look for the miracle, share the miracle, and thank you for being part of my crafty family. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and hit that bell button if you want to know each time I upload a new video. Thank you, and God bless. Bye for now.